Recording. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am really excited to see everyone joining from all over the world. Welcome, welcome. And today's topic is the power of being you, how to attract anything that you desire. So just quickly, my name is Sophie Mihalko, and I'm one of these weird beasts called Access Consciousness Certified Facilitators. And what that means is pretty much that I create anything I want, whenever I want, with really cool tools that allow me to be me 150% of the time, even sometimes more than I myself know. So quick story. I'm from France originally, so therefore I may have a slight accent. And if you do not understand me, don't worry, you will not offend me if you ask me to repeat what I said. I need to do a quick sound check. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, okay, awesome, perfect. Thank you, Maureen. Okay, so being French and living in the United States, I definitely have different perspectives on a lot of things. So like, I remember being told many times, where are you? Well, you think like this because you're French. Or when I go to France, well, you think like this because you're American, right? And the fact of the matter is that I've always been different. Now, because I'm from a different country and I live here, or I go back home and I live here, people now have a justification for how weird and different I am. But the truth is, I am weird anyway. No matter, even if I was from the United States or if I lived in France, I'll still be weird. So I wonder if you have something that's really unusual or exciting or eccentric about you that you have justified because you are from a certain place, or because you're a certain age, or because you have this specific situation, you're like this. Instead of just acknowledging that actually who you are as a being is very different and very unique. I mean, I don't have to tell you that you are the only person like you on this planet. Literally, there's nobody like you. So being you is going to be a very different energy than anybody else on the planet. Therefore, what you're going to get to create by being you is going to be different. And if you continue to use that to your advantage, then what you're going to get to create is actually going to be greater than what anybody else has created. Because most people, when they want to create a job, when they want to create a relationship, they want to create money, business, a home, they will follow in somebody else's footsteps. They will say, what have my parents done? What have my friends done? And then I'll go and do that. And it's great and it works until it doesn't work anymore. Until suddenly you find yourself married to somebody that you are bored with, or you find like you live in a town that's lovely, but just not exciting enough for you. Or your business is not thriving anymore because you don't want to do it anymore, but it's, it's the right business and you're good at it. Anybody sounds familiar? Yeah, I know for me, it was like that. So one day I was working in a lovely position. I had a wonderful position and I was making an impact on the world. I had a wonderful family, married, 2 kids, beautiful home, a dog. And I couldn't stand it anymore. There was a part of me that just wanted to scream and wanted to just say something else is possible. And this is when I discovered the tools of Access Consciousness. And up until then, I had been using the tools of the law of attraction. I had also done something called landmark form, something called insight. I had done a lot of things before that, but it just was not enough, simply because I still was trying to create something that I had seen other people create, not what I wanted to create. And I'm certainly not saying that being married, having a job, having kids is the wrong choice for you. Certainly not. What I'm saying is that maybe you want to be able to take a trip without your partner, or maybe you want your kids to be part of your business, or maybe you want to work part from home and part from an office, or from all over the world, wherever that is. So maybe the way you want to do it, maybe the way you want to create your life is so different that there is no model. There's absolutely no model. What if that was actually the easiest way to create something now? What if the easiest way to create something was when there was no model? Because if you think about it, if there is no model, you can't compare yourself, right? So if you decide you're going to create a relationship where you get to see the person whenever it works for both of you, and you still get to say you're in a relationship, and you get to travel the world, but you also have a wonderful partner with whom you create or you don't create, you get to do it every day differently with that person because that's what works for you. Now, that means that you can't compare your relationship to somebody else because your relationship is very different. You also cannot try to act like somebody else. Because I know for me in relationships, I remember something bad happened to me once. So my ex-husband cheated on me, right? And so, of course, I'm supposed to get upset. My husband cheats on me, right? And I did. Oh my gosh, Lordy, did I get upset. I did it all. I was on the kitchen floor crying, not able to get up, upset, like you can't believe it. But then there was this little part of me that was like, well, actually, am I really upset? Or is this okay? And at the time, it was hard for me to put words on, but there was a part of me that knew that I was going to be okay. And 3 years later, we ended up ending that relationship, and it was the best for everyone concerned. But if I was not trying to do marriage, if I was not trying to do what a woman who's been cheated on is supposed to say and do, I probably would not have gone through all the drama and trauma that I did. It would probably have been a lot easier. So what I'm suggesting to you tonight is that by being you, it makes things a lot easier. Now, notice that I'm not saying being yourself, because I believe that the self is actually a limited version of you. You, who you be, is going to be different in every single moment. So sometimes you're going to be super quiet, super polished, super sweet. And then other times you're going to be like so loud and making jokes and looking messy and talking to everyone. And both of it is you. You is not just one thing. It's a myriad of things. It's an infinite number of possibilities. So that's why I don't say be yourself. That's why I don't say be your better self, but just be you. So welcome to those who joined us since I've been starting my little spiel. I wonder if anyone has a question so far. Okay. All right, so because I did the law of attraction for so long, I do like the idea of attracting something in my life. And to me now, today, the way that looks is that I choose to have something. So, for instance, when I was looking to buy a house, I chose to have a home that was going to be awesome. And I looked a lot for that home. And I found the things, but those things did not work out, thank God, because the home of my dream came after 2 other offers failed, right? When I saw that home of my dreams, the home that I've actually always wanted to have, I could not even recognize it. I could not even see that it was the home I was looking for, because I was so focused on the other things that I was desperately trying to get. the other right homes for me. And thank God the universe had my back, and the universe made the other offers fail, because it got me to look at this home that I had barely seen and recognize that that was the home of my dreams that I actually always wanted to have. So I had chosen to have a wonderful place to live for me and my kids. And I actually had a very limited amount of time, because my ex-husband was keeping the place where we were living, and his girlfriend was moving in. So I had to get out. So I had a very limited amount of time, but my choice is what created the possibility. So the universe had my back because I was being me, because I was as intense as I needed to be. I remember my realtor was going crazy with me, because I was like, what else? I kept going, because that's who I am. I am an intense person. And if you ever work with me, you'll know that. I go for it. I don't really slow down, right, Art? I don't slow down. I'm not very shy. And that's
true.
Thank you. So my choice made it that I would never stop. And I knew I was going to get it. And it came down to 3 weeks before I had to move. And I still knew I was going to get it. And boom, the perfect place showed up. The universe got me exactly what I needed at the time I needed it. And it was perfect, right? And with my intensity, I got it just perfectly. So being me meant that I did not give up when somebody said, I remember a realtor said to me that I was being rude, because I was so intense that she felt I was being rude, and I couldn't care less. I was like, you know what? That's too bad, because you deal with people that are kind of tame, but I'm not. And that was okay. That was okay. Like you know, when you're being you, other people are surprised, right? Like when you're being you, they're like, oh, she's different. Oh, she's actually saying what she wants. Oh. So there is a reaction there, and they're entitled to their reaction. That's okay. That's cool with me. They can do that. But what if you did not slow yourself down? Or what if you did not tame yourself because of other people's reactions? Even in a partnership with our wonderful, dear partners that we love and adore, sometimes who we are is too much, or it's annoying, or it's bugging them. And sometimes it's okay, like maybe I can change this, I can change that. But a lot of times, that's who you be. And loving them, regardless of how they react to you, is what's going to make those relationships still work. So I know that, I'm very, I talk a lot about my private life online. So I make a lot of videos. I put naked pictures of myself. And my boyfriend pretty much had to deal with the whole ram of everything that I put online. And, it's not always comfortable, but that's okay. I get that he's not comfortable with it, but I'm still doing it, and we're all good. So slowing yourself down or taming yourself because somebody's not reacting well to what you're putting out there is actually not doing you any service and not doing them any service. Yeah, we had a wonderful song come up. Okay. All right. So when you're being you, certainly possibilities that were not clear before are showing up. Okay. So let's talk about money. Who here likes money, wants to make more money, and all of that? All right. So usually when you make money is because somebody is either buying something from you or paying you for something. And right now we're going to take those examples So somebody's paying you, somebody is buying something from you, okay? Now, if they're buying something from you, it's because that thing they're buying is going to give them something that they think they don't have yet. And if they're paying you for something, it's because you're going to give them or an energy or something that they feel they don't have yet. Now, if you're not being you, there's no way you can communicate with them that thing that they think they don't have. So, for instance, if somebody comes to you and says, I am so depressed, I don't think life is worth living, and I don't think I can do anything to change my depression. Now, if you are shy or if you're not being you enough to say, you know what? Yeah, okay, I get that you think that, but life is awesome, and I'd love to show you that life is awesome. If you're not willing to be that annoying to them, they're not going to pay you for it. Actually, a lot of times people pay you because you are making them uncomfortable, not because you're making them comfortable. If you're making them comfortable, then they don't need you, right? But if you're making them uncomfortable, if you're taking them to the next level, that's where they realize they need you. If you're not taking them to the next level, what's the point? Why would they pay you? So if you're, one of the things that I offer and some of the people on the call offer too is called Access Consciousness, the bars, which is a very relaxing technique. So somebody who's very stressed out come to you and say, I need to relax. Is this going to make me more relaxed? And if you doubt yourself, then that's going to create stress in your body. So if you're like, well, maybe it's going to, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Well, you need it. It's a good thing. You need it. That actually creates even more stress versus, you know what? No matter what shows up is going to create more in your life. And that energy is what they're looking for. They're looking for that certainty. They're looking for that push toward having more in their life. So if you're not willing to be you and say those things that are going to give them the sense of more is possible, they're not going to pay you. Why would they pay you? You're just going to give them the same. Now, granted, some people will actually spend money to get the same. I get that. But those may not be the people that you are interested in working with, or maybe they are. I know that one of my teachers, Gary Douglas, says that you have to be willing to be paid by the stupids. And what he means by that is the people that are not aware enough to ask for more. Okay, so sometimes being you is actually recognizing that somebody's paying you even though they're not going to change anything, even though they're not going to have any more in their life. But they're still going to pay you because they wish they would. And eventually you'll plant the seed, and eventually, maybe not in this lifetime, but eventually the seed will grow. Okay, so being you creates everything that you desire. And the only issue with all of this, I would say issue because it comes from other people. The word issue means that it's a problem issued by somebody else. So the only issue with all of this is that some people are not going to like it, that you be you. And therefore, they're either going to very sneakily judge you, stop you, telling you it's not possible, telling you you're too weird, too different, too unique. And if you do that, then that's when people actually will stop being interested in you. So on the one hand, you have those people that love how unique and wonderful and amazing you are. And then on the other hand, you have the people that can't stand it. And the people that can't stand it can have a very loud voice. But if you listen to that voice, that's it, you're done. What's the point? So how do you stop that voice? How do you not listen? Or how do you transform that voice into something you can use to your advantage? By being you. Okay, so everybody who's on the call today, whether you're on camera or not on camera, I'd like you to take your hands and be aware of your hands for me for a second. So they may be stiff right now, or they may be completely relaxed. It's up to you. So just be aware of your hands. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to very gently start moving your fingers. And just notice what happens in your upper arms when you're very gently moving your fingers. So for most of us, when you're very gently moving your fingers, not much happens, right? It's like it's gentle, you can feel a movement, maybe some tingling, but not much happens. Okay, so now you're gonna move your hands like a crazy person. Like you're gonna move your fingers like maybe you're playing the piano in the air, or you're like shifting a whole lot of things. Go ahead and do that. Now, when you do that, for a lot of us, there's gonna be a lot more energy in the hands. For me, it creates this tingle sensation on the top of the hands. Okay. Now, does it only create a change in your hands, or does it create a change in more than your hands? What do you think? More. Maureen says more. Yeah, perfect. Exactly. Because you're not just changing your hands, you're actually moving all the molecules of the air around your hands, and these molecules are going to change the molecules next to it, etc., etc., etc. So the more energy you're putting out there, the more you're moving, the more intense you're being. Not that you have to be loud or that you have to move fast or big or whatever, but the more you're being all of it, the more it changes. And that's why Dr. Dale here wrote the book, Being You, Changing the World. Because even if you feel like moving like this, that's changing the world, okay? But if you feel, oh, I have to be good because, you know, I'm on camera, so I can't move too much. So that's not gonna change much, okay? So I hope that it's clear for everyone. Actually, it's funny, all of you are muted, so I'm not hearing any of you. I'm gonna unmute you because you are muted. Okay, so does anybody have a question for me? All right. So being you is absolutely awesome, phenomenal, and it does not require much, meaning like if you ever want to change anything in your life, if you choose to be even more you than you've ever been before, that's going to create change. So for instance, you want more money, and you as a person, you love laughing, okay? So then one day you're like, I wonder how my laughter is going to create more money. Then you go, so the way that I work with questions a lot of times is I'm very, very present with the question that I ask, and then I go ahead and do something else. Because if I stay with the present, with the question, if I stay with the question, then I'm kind of checking in on the universe to see what the universe is going to deliver. So instead, I just ask the question and move on. So you ask the question, okay, so what will it take for me to make more money laughing, for instance, right? And then you go and do the laundry, or you go and buy your groceries. And you're at the grocery store, and somebody says something, a little kid plays, stumbles around, and you're laughing your ass off, right? And by you laughing your ass off, suddenly you remember somebody else laughing, or a movie like this, or a situation like this, and you're like, oh, I have an idea for a business, or I have an idea for a class I can teach, or I have an idea for how to market my business, just because of that energy. And boom, your laughter made you more money. Now, it may not be that somebody's buying your laughter, but the fact that you were laughing is opening up something that's going to trigger a creation that you would not have if you were not allowing yourself to laugh. Us being you, making more money. Now, we've got a question on the chat, so I'm going to address that question because I was actually hoping somebody would ask this. How do you deal with the judgment and the people that don't like when you are being you? Okay, so I personally love judgments. And those of you who've been doing Access Consciousness for a while probably know why I love judgments. I love judgments because it actually makes me aware of where people stick themselves. So when I'm aware of where people stick themselves, then I'm aware of what I can offer them. Okay, so let's say that I live in America, but I often go back to France because a lot of my business is also in France. So I often go back to France. And every time when my mom sees me after a couple months of not seeing me, she'll say that I gain weight. It's pretty much a habit for her. And every time she says that, I get a new awareness. So the first time was, oh my gosh, there's so many people in this world who would do anything to lose weight. That was the first awareness I got. And then the second awareness was, oh my gosh, there are so many people who stop themselves from having a joyful, exciting life because of their weight. That was the second awareness. And every time I got ways, so I taught a class on the topic, usually in French because it happened in French, so it was easier. So usually in French, and I made money from that, right? So every time somebody sent, and trust me, when my mother judges me, it has an impact. It's not something I can really avoid or ignore or be like, oh, whatever. Usually if my mother is the one judging me, or if my sister or a close friend is judging me, that will have a greater impact than if it's a stranger. Usually it's very easy to be like, whatever, they're just judging me. So I use it to my advantage, and I ask for what's the awareness behind it. Gary Douglas will explain that the more you receive judgment, meaning that you actually don't make it significant, but you just notice the judgment, the more money you're going to make. And the reason being that when you are somebody who receives judgments, you become something that people would like to be. How many people do you know would like to be not reactive to judgments? I know a lot of people who would like that, who would be like, okay, I'm not going to react to any judgment. Yeah. So when they see somebody like you who receives judgment, they want it. In fact, the first time that I made a video to promote my Access classes, I was in my pajamas, I had no makeup on, and I had to whisper because my kids were sleeping. So it was not a good video, let me tell you this. Well, I have one person who came to my class, you know, and the time was $1,200, paid $1,200, not knowing what the class was about, because I made that video. She said, somebody who can make a business video in her pajamas, whispering, is somebody that I want to learn from. So when you're willing to be that space of, you know what, no matter what, I'm going to do this, even if it doesn't sound good or it's not good, when you're willing to be that space, people want it. So when you're willing to receive the judgments, you're going to make more money. Now, let's talk about the people that judge your work or judge the things you create. For instance, well, I mean, when I did the blog post I did a blog post called Naked Beauty, and I had pictures of myself naked on there, you know, tasteful pictures, but I had pictures of myself. Then there's a woman who told me that I will never, ever be able to work with children because of these pictures, because she's very comfortable in her body. And so she had to find a really good way of judging me about that post. Okay, so I looked at it and I realized actually children have no point of view about bodies when they start, right? They don't really have a point of view. So my post was not sexual. It was just about loving your body. So there, again, I had more information to work with people. I had more information to develop more programs, more classes, because of this judgment that this woman gave to me. And also, I was very, very grateful to this woman for saying this. The same way that I'm grateful to my mother every time she says that I gain weight. The same way that I would be grateful to anybody who's willing to judge me. Because I guess for some reason people are not willing to judge me anymore. But when people do judge me, I'm very, very grateful for them, because every time I get an awareness. And Pernilla, also the last thing I wanted to say about judgments, especially judgments from others, is it real? Are judgments ever real? Are they ever based on something true? Never. They're not real. They're always based on an invention. Always. So if you are giving more power to an invention, you're basically fueling something that does not exist in the first place. And that would do what? So instead, get your energy back and realize that no judgment is ever real. And of course, a lot of people will judge you because they're judging themselves. So you can also send them some love or some gratitude or appreciation, whatever you want to call it, and just really be, wow, okay, cool. They're judging. How does it get any better than that? Okay, so I hope I answered your question, honey. I hope this helps. Yeah. So, I want to talk about awareness for a minute, because when you're being you, you're going to get so much awareness that you may actually get sick, or things may not go as well in your body. Because when you're being, okay, so who you are as a being is somebody who's very, very aware, meaning that you're aware of other people's bodies, you're aware of the past, the present, the future, you're aware of people's limitations, you're aware of everything when you're being you. So the more you're going to be, the more aware you're going to be. And I really would like you all to take a moment and acknowledge that if anything is not going well in your life, it's probably because you're aware of something and you just have not acknowledged your awareness yet. So when you acknowledge that awareness, maybe, okay, the world actually now is looking for more community, although I don't like the word community, but the world is actually now looking for more ways to connect with one another, because we spend so much time, me, that now people are willing to connect more. So when people are willing to connect more, you're now going to perceive all the stuff that is not, it does not match, does not fit, does not work. And being aware of it does not mean you have to do anything about it. It just means that it's there. And sometimes you will. Sometimes you'll be like, okay, so I'm aware this person is putting a smile on, but they're actually really not that happy. So I'm going to go and sit with them or say hi. I mean, I love doing this sometimes on Facebook. I'll see my friends post, and then I'll just go, hi, how are you today? What's going on in your life? I'll send them a quick message, because I can perceive that even though they're talking about their newest trip, or they're talking about, going on this exciting date, there's something underneath that I can perceive that's not okay, or that's not going super good. So that to me helps a lot, is when you use your awareness to your advantage, to be aware of everything that's going on and what can you contribute. That, my friends, is being you. The contribution you being the world is who you being. So I wonder if anybody would be willing to, maybe either through the chat or via live, let me know of an area where they're having challenges being you, being them. No, nobody is? Okay. See, I love being silly. And so while if anybody is courageous enough to go ahead and talk, that's awesome. Otherwise, I'll keep talking. So with being French, Art, do you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, I think you know my challenges with my hands and whatever. And when I finally made a decision that if I do end up having this surgery, that I'll do the bars with just one hand instead of having to do it with two, because I'm going to be in a cast with one hand for a while. So that's, and you know, any other challenge that comes up for me, I'm going to look at it and ask what else is possible.
Right. So if you run a bar, so for those of you who don't know, bar session is where we use both of our hands and we put them on the head of the people that we work on. So Art, if you're running bars on somebody's head with one hand, using an energetic hand to run the other side, then who do you have to be to do that?
Just be me, that's all.
Yeah, the magical you, right?
Yeah, because I'm the one that's going to imagine the hand is on the other side and, you know, run energy through the head anyway. So creating the bar.
So maybe you become the wizard of the bars.
I'd love to.
Maybe Art is the new, you know, the one who has such magical hands that he does not even need to use his hands to run bars on people. So that's giving you an ability that maybe you don't, other people have not acknowledged yet.
That could very well be.
So how many one-handed people could you then teach bars to?
I don't know how many there are out there, but I'm sure there's plenty of them.
We used to have a one-handed bars practitioner in the Los Angeles area. I don't think he's in LA anymore. I don't know where he's at right now. But that's pretty awesome to solely be like a very unique bars facilitator with, you know, running sessions with two hands, except one is energetic.
Yeah, that's what I plan on doing.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. And I mean, Art, it's not the only thing in your life that you've done that was different from what most people do.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I've done a lot that other people don't. And, you know, I've always been the rebel in the business that I was in. And, you know, I owned a franchise and I'm supposed to do it their way. And it was like, I don't think that's going to work, to be honest with you. And I think I can do it this way and it'll end up making my business better, which it ended up doing.
Yeah. And you were dealing with the really big corporations. So this is something else where how many of us, and I'm going to put myself in this package, don't do something because the big corporations are saying we can't, or the big corporations are saying it has to be done this way or that way. So one example, and I know some of you are going to nod when I say this story, is I recently had to take antibiotics because I had a bad ear infection. And of course, they tell you to take all of the antibiotics that they give you, right? And being me as I be, I ask my body every time I take the antibiotic, I say, buddy, do you want this? And after about 4 days, my body was like, nope, we're done. So I stopped taking the antibiotic and I'm doing great and I'm doing fine. And I realized that, you know, the rule of taking X amount of medicine would mean that every single body reacts the same way to the medicine. Well, we all know every single body actually has a different reaction, especially when you're being you. When you're being you, your body is going to follow that. So what works one day may not work another day, and what works for your sister may not work for you the same, etc., etc. So that's actually phenomenal. So like, let's say, I know you told me you had to have a cast for 4 or 5 weeks, right?
Yes.
So I wonder if maybe after a couple of weeks you can go see them and say, hey, would you check out if it's time to take the cast out? You know, like,
Oh, I will. You know me.
magic can you be that maybe they can't even conceive yet?
Well, I had a tooth extracted, and it was done with a water laser, and which to me was something totally new. And when the dentist did the whole thing with the laser around the tooth, he literally just took his fingers and pulled the tooth out. He didn't need pliers or anything else. And then he asked me, he says, do you want some pain pills? I said, not if I can avoid it. I said, I don't want them. So he said, well, how about some Traumeal and these other herbs that'll take care of the inflammation? And I said, great, I'll take those. Because here I am, 77 years old. I don't take any medication at all. And I don't like the side effects of the medicines, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And they give you medicine to take care of the side effects of the other medicine that you're taking.
Right. and sometimes it works. Sometimes the medicine works, and sometimes
if I absolutely need it, like in your case, you said you need antibiotics, so you take them. And I ask my body, what do you want this now? Do we need this now or whatever? Then I'll take it. If it says no, forget about it.
Yeah. So be you. When you be you, your body is also going to be different every time, right? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but you're not the same person, or you don't react the same way every single time. And so your body is not going to react the same way. And so you can play with your body and say, okay, so I'm going to go a little French for a minute, okay? And we're going to talk about sex, for instance. So let's say you have sex with somebody and it's awful, okay? And you have like the most terrible experience, but you really like the person. Mm-hmm. So if you don't go to the conclusion that sex with that person is bad, then you can ask your body, okay, buddy, what will it take to make this a good experience? And watch out, because the next time it may be really great. And vice versa. It could be the opposite too, where one day is great and one day it's not great. And if you don't go to conclusion, you can change all of that. And when I say go to conclusion, I mean that you have a set answer, that it's definitive, that it's done. If you don't stick yourself with that set answer, then who knows what you could create? Who knows? Maybe that person is going to want to do things that they didn't want to do before. They'll surprise you, whatever it is. Like, the energy will be different and it will be awesome and phenomenal. So this is where, when you're being you start actually allowing awareness to come in. You're allowing the universe to contribute to you. You're allowing other people to contribute to you. So you may be part of the people who don't like to receive, or don't like to be taken care of, or don't like to, to need the help of somebody else. I mean, I was a very strong, independent woman for a long time. And then one day I met this wonderful man who wanted to help in doing things that I can totally do myself. But when I saw the contribution that he would be to my life if I let him help, I said, okay. And it's been phenomenal for the last two years now to be able to have somebody who contributes to my life this way, in ways that I can totally take care of myself that way. But why not? If it contributes more, awesome, perfect. And that's also being me. It's not because suddenly you need help that you're not being you. So it's not consistent. It's not always the same, because you're not consistent. You're not always the same. I don't know about you, but I don't think there's 2 days in a row where I want the same thing. I'm always like, well, today I want this and today I want that. Oh, what about this and what about that? And if you want something, that's totally cool too. But what if you have a choice? What if one day you want to build a great business and be on the cover of a magazine, and then the next day you just want to be in your house and nobody to bother you? Like, it's all good. It's all okay. I see like Amber's smiling big, so that's awesome. All right. Well, let's see. Do we have anybody else? Oh, Peggy Sue joined us.
I got on a little bit late, but I just wanted to add to that I've had that experience so much. In fact, I noticed myself previously trying to recreate experiences that I really found a lot of joy in before. And then when I would go to recreate those, I would have the expectation that I was the same person and I would have the same experience. And then it would be completely different and sometimes good, sometimes bad. And it was just thinking that I was the same. It's not because it's always different.
Exactly.
I'm always different.
And that to me is even more exciting because then you don't get to live the same thing twice. Every time it's going to be a different experience, which is pretty awesome. I like it. So
I love it. And yes, the surprise of being me.
Exactly. And ooh, what a fun surprise. Now, as I'm saying this, I'm perceiving people saying, wait a second, but what if it's a bad surprise? And what if there was no bad surprise? So, like, for instance, my boyfriend just hurt his back, right? And so for the last 2 days, he's been like walking around, oh my gosh, I'm stuck, I'm hurt, whatever. What if that was not bad? What if it's just his body saying, slow down, dude, or him actually looking at what it is he was doing that created that? So what if even if the worst thing happens, it's okay. What awareness is that giving you? And can you be grateful for that awareness? That also is being you and changing things. All right. We're coming close to the end of this call. So I wanted to see if anybody else had a specific question for me or something they would like help with.
There's a couple of things in the chat. I don't know what's there.
No, that's it. I just actually took care of it. Yeah. I love that we have Canadian people, or we had Canadian people on the call. Yay, Canada. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the call. We're not done completely yet. I wanted to go. So one of the things for me in my business that I was looking at is, because I have tools that can help in every single area of my life, I want to help people create anything that they desire, which is awesome and terrible for a business. And the reason I say it's terrible is because people don't know what to talk to me about. So like, for instance, I ask you, do you have any question? It's much more difficult for you to say, well, I don't know, than if I say to you, you have to receive judgment, otherwise you're going to be stuck your whole life. Then well, hold on, Sophie, what if I don't want to receive judgment? Like, if I give you something more specific, then it's going to be easier to have a discussion move forward. So in my business, I decided to be me a little bit further than I've ever been before, and to choose one area that I want to explore with people. And the area I want to explore is relationships, because it's so much fun and so awful at the same time, right? So relationships are like this amazing thing that we all want to have, and it's also heart-wrenching, heartbreaking. So there's a little Facebook group that actually, I simply changed the title. So you may be or not be yet on this Facebook group, but if you're not, I'd love for you to join us. And it's called The Power Being You. That's all it's called right now. But the focus for the next few months is going to be relationships. And I'd love for you to come on and join us and let us know how you be you in your relationship. And let us know what tips, what advice, or what questions you have. So maybe we can continue the conversation there. I'd love for that to be the case. And if you ever, and also we have Pernilla, you joined us. We have a membership site called Being We. So we is OUI.com, where you get this type of things actually at a much deeper level. This type of thing twice a month, and you also get a lot of videos. I think there's videos now on the website. So if you want to join us, it's beingwe, BEIAGOUI.com. Go ahead and join us, and we go a lot deeper in all this. Thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything that you want to contribute or anything that you want to ask me before we leave?
Well, I'll just say that the being you is great.
And you mean being we, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. OUI.
OUI, yeah. It is pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Anybody else?
Yes. Sophie, I have something. It
yes.
is actually more of something I'd like to have a little help with.
Yeah.
I've just really noticed since the being you and really getting this and living it more and more, I'm choosing so much more because I'm so more willing to choose what is really my joy and what I'm really drawn to. And there is, we've been talking and hearing a lot about chaos and order lately and the power of chaos and the creative force of chaos. And I love this because this is addressing it for me, what it is for me. I'm choosing this and I'm choosing this. And it does kind of it looks really chaotic, and it is chaotic to live it. And I'm also having, I feel that I'm in resistance to being okay with the chaotic element of it as well. I've been noticing that. Interfering with
chaos. Which part of chaos are you resisting? I have another question for you. So, do you love to be in control?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And is it possible to be in control? Is it possible to be in control of chaos?
No.
Not really. So chaos requires total vulnerability, right?
Oh. Yeah.
It requires to be aware at all times. Chaos is not just the seed, or it's not just the ground from which you start creating, but it's also creation itself. So if you're trying to control, so let's say like you have all these elements in front of you and you're like, okay, great, I'm going to use chaos to start creating my life. Cool. But then you're like, okay, now it has to look like this, or it has to be like this. Mm-hmm. Then you're trying to actually put this chaos in order. And that's where... I'm sorry?
Yes, I noticed that. I'll say it like I'm trying to make sense out of it.
Yes. So it does not make sense, because if you make sense out of it, then you're going to try to use your mind. And chaos is actually way outside of the mind. It uses every single element of creation, awareness, energy, space, consciousness. All of it is part of chaos. The mind cannot compute it. It just can't. So now, would you be willing to look bad, to fail, to fall, to be alone, to be abandoned, to suck at it, to lose? Are you willing to be all of that? As much as winning big, making it, being the best, being superior, being awesome, totally rocking it. Are you willing to be all of it?
Ooh, yes. Am I?
That's chaos. That's you, actually. Who you are is all of it. Sorry, you can't pick just one.
Okay.
That's not going to work. Sorry. No, I mean, that is, so are you resisting choosing all of it? Maybe, are you choosing only the parts that work for you?
Mm. Hmm.
Do you have children?
Yes.
Okay, so a baby is, oh, And a baby is awesome. It's like, you know, this wonderful little creature, but also a baby cries, poops, pees all the time. And, you know, you have to like deal with all of it, right? You can't just choose to have the baby just for the cuddles and the snuggles and all of that. You take all of it. Same thing with creation, with choice. Choice will have the wonderful parts to it and those parts that stink too.
Yeah.
And all of it is great. All of it is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Does that help?
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, anybody else? Can I contribute anything else? Okay, so as I'm leaving, I would like to give you all the energy of who you be truly in your nature beyond anything that you've ever thought possible. And that is a miracle. Who you are is a miracle. So I'm going to give you the energy of the miracle that you be. Are you ready for it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you all so much for being there today. And you'll get the replay in about 24 hours. And if you need to contact me, you'll get it via the email. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, everybody.